I am a film editor,
Okay.
and my name is Anita Brandt Burgoyne, and I've been doing this for 27 years, something like that.
Okay. What has been your favorite project that you've worked on?
I have a few for different reasons.
Okay.
I think in terms of having fun, probably Good Burger was probably one of the ones I had the most fun on, and also I have to say the Brady Bunch movie that I did was also very fun because that was my first big sort of studio feature.
Yeah.
In terms of just my most fun project, because it was, you know, #1 at the box office and it got the most press, was Legally Blonde.
Okay. What made you want to be a film editor?
I went into the family business. My dad was a film editor, and from the time I was about 14, I thought, my parents were divorced, and I would often go with my dad when he had to work on the weekends, as editors often have to do, so my brother and I would go with him. And my dad would always stop. We'd stop at a toy store, and he'd buy my brother and me toys to play with. I would usually get like paint by number things or something, and my brother would usually buy a model. Things that would take some time, but when I got to the editing rooms, which was obviously on film back in the day, I had more fun playing with the film and reeling the film from one side to the other side and playing with the synchronizer and the grease pencils, and I just thought, I don't know what happens in this room, but I want to work in here. So that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah. Do you like that it's gone to digital, or would you prefer it to be the other way?
That's kind of a loaded question, mostly because it's hard to look at evolution, which is sort of a natural thing, and go, gee, I wish we hadn't evolved. But there were things I loved about film. I think mostly the things that I liked about film in a goofy way were its limitations, because now there's nothing that can't be done now, and if somebody has a wrinkle or a blemish or something, if you don't like the color of the sweater they're wearing, they change. There's nothing that can't be changed, and there's something that it's almost like cheating, I feel. There was something nice about the fact that when you shot a film, you had to deal with the images that were on the celluloid, and that was what you had to work with. And I kind of miss those days, because now it's just like, we'll fix it later. And that, I just don't, I don't like that as much. That said, it makes a world of possibilities, and sometimes being able to fix things later on saves the day. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So
If you could do any other job, what would it be?
Writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What type of writing would you do?
Probably screenplays. And I have to say, at the age that I'm at now, looking back on a career that's, you know, at least halfway done, if not more than that, that I kind of am a little sorry that I had such tunnel vision when I was young, because I never even considered any other possible avenues. And I think I probably would have ended up in film because I always liked it. But I never even thought, well, maybe there's something else I might like better than editing, only because I was so driven to follow in my dad's footsteps. And I am a little sorry about that. But I think I would have liked to have written screenplays.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of what my next question was going to be. If you could go back and tell yourself at my age, what would you do?
Keep an open mind. Like you told me, you're not sure yet what you want to do. I think that's great. Because even if you try 4 different things before you find something, or if you try 4 different things and realize that the thing you tried the second was the most fun and what you responded to the most, at least you can say, I've done some research, I've done some investigating, whereas I don't feel like I can say that. I never even gave anything else a chance. So keep an open mind. I think it's good.
Okay. Okay. How did film school help you for the real world?
It didn't, actually, because I wasn't a production major. I was a critical studies major. And as much as I loved every single day of going and sitting in USC's great big theater and Norris Theater and watching movies like Gunga Din and Bringing Up Baby, in the real world, all it did was make me watch movies with a critical eye, which is great, didn't actually help me in my job necessarily. It didn't help my storytelling skills or know how to put a story, a film together in a way that tells the story the best. But I didn't necessarily go to film school for that reason. I went to film school because I didn't know what else to study, and I wanted to go to college. So, you know, knowing what you want to do ahead of time kind of made film school, you know, a silly choice. I should have studied art history or French or something, just because I knew what I wanted to do anyway, and was going to start by making coffee for people, which is exactly what I did.
Which brought me to my next question. What did you do? What was your first job when you came out?
Actually, my first job was, when I started, the goal, knowing that I wanted to be an editor, the goal was to get into the union. And back in the 80s, you had to work 30 days. The rules have totally changed now. They're totally different. But in the day, you had to work for 30 days on a union film, and then you could become a member of the union. But you weren't allowed to work on a union film if you weren't in the union. So somebody had to turn their head the other way and allow somebody who was just out of school or whatever to come in and do a very menial job to get their 30 days in. And my dad was working on a film for Columbia, and their apprentice quit right as I was graduating from college. The director, a woman named Claudia Weil, who I had met while I was still in school, because I would come and see my dad on the weekends when he was often working, and I got to know her. And so when their apprentice quit on the film, the director, Claudia, said, well, why don't we give Anita a chance? So my dad had to go to the head of the union at that time and say, you know, I want to do this. Like, all right, fine, just go do it. And the head of post-production for Columbia let me work. I worked 31 days, and my job was literally to reconstitute pieces of film, to take trims from things that editors had cut some pieces in, so you're left with two pieces on either side, and to put them back together. I didn't even know how to work a splicer, so I came in early the first day. My dad showed me, you know, what you do with the splicing tape and how the splicer worked, and that's all I did for 31 days, was reconstitute film back into the rolls that they came out of. And at 31 days, the head of post-production for Columbia said, okay, she's got to get out of here now. Because they had to keep me behind closed doors, but that's how everybody got in. Somebody did somebody a favor.
Sounds like it makes now sound a lot simpler though.
Much simpler now.
It helps to hear that.
You legally work on non-union films, you get your hours in, and then it's so much better now. You don't have to it's not a secret anymore. You just work.
Yeah.
It's much better.
Yeah. What is the hardest part about your job?
That's an easy one. The politics. The job is fantastic. I love every single part about doing the work. Having to deal with the politics of specifically directors and producers most often, because creative people tend to disagree. It can get really, really ugly, and an editor's job is to stay as neutral as possible. As I like to say, I have to be Switzerland. But that's not always easy to do, especially when in your heart you really do feel that that your creative idea of what works best aligns with one party or the other. Very hard to stay neutral. And I always try to remind them, and sometimes have to remind myself, that my only agenda is to help everybody make the best film possible. And it's sometimes very, very difficult. The hardest things about the things that have made jobs less than pleasant, it's never been about the material itself or anything. It's always been about, how do I deal with all of these crazy personalities that are all around me? And I'm not saying that people are crazy, it's just that people get crazy. Movies are expensive, there's a lot at stake, and it gets really tense sometimes. So that's the hardest part by far.
Yeah. Okay. And then just two personal questions. How do you spend your free time?
Okay. I'm a mom. Even though my kids are grown, I still like to do stuff with them if they're here. My husband and I, we go hiking, and we take the dog out. We go to the movies a lot, at least once every 2 weeks, sometimes every week. We go in spurts. What else do we do? We're into car racing, but mostly watching rather than doing. He races. I do a lot of watching, although I've raced once. I don't know. That's about it.
And then this is just one I was curious about. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would it be?
I wanted to take a cruise through the Greek islands since we got married. That was supposed to be our honeymoon, and we couldn't figure out how to arrange it with my schedule, so we haven't done that. But I'd really like to go on a cruise through the Greek islands, from Istanbul to like Athens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but there's so many places I haven't been. I would go anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
And that's a problem with what I do, because when I'm off, I don't know how long I'm going to be off. So it's not really vacation time. I'm unemployed and I have to make my money last as long as possible time. And it's really more worrying than it is fun. And I'd say that's probably the biggest drawback of the business in general, of freelancing. Any freelance job, you don't know when your next job is coming.